Tom.
And we are VIMTV, Velocities in Music. Today we're going to review Portugal the Man's 2011 release that came out a few weeks ago, In the Mountain in the Cloud. Portugal the Man we reviewed last year, about this time. We reviewed, actually it was in November I think that we put the episode up. American Ghetto, this band produces an album every year. And what other band out there really does that anymore? Of Montreal, Mars Volta, they get close, but not to this level. I mean, these guys are very consistent. This is like, what, their 4th or 5th release? Something like that. I might have that wrong, and I apologize if I do, because I didn't come into Portugal the Man until American Ghetto, and I know that some of the fans didn't like that very much. Tom and I both liked it very well. We gave it a fair score, around an 80.
I've listened to a lot of their older stuff since then, too, and it's good.
Yeah,
they're a solid band.
It is good, and American Ghetto is a little bit different of an album, because it saw Portugal the Man expanding their sound, doing some more almost trip-hop stuff, where this is another derivation of their sound. This is a very consistent album, but if you don't mind, Tom, I'll just kind of dive into where I'm at with this thing. My interpretation of In the Mountain in the Cloud is just these grandiose anthems, these indie pop / rock anthems where you'll have just this cool guitar line or keyboard line start, and then the song will, and then they'll add a cool vocal hook. And this guy's vocals, I apologize, I forget his name, is high falsetto. It's just he has a great indie rock voice, and then all these different guitars and pounding drums and strings and all this other stuff, horns get added in, and it's just this anthem. It's just this monstrous track that you hear on track 1, So American, and the whole song is just this one giant forte dynamic, and it's loud, and it's fun, and it's intense, and it's hard not to love that song right away. And originally I had that as one of my track picks. I noticed Tom picked it here. But as the songs go on, the first like 8 songs are exactly like that. They are almost they don't sound exactly the same, but as far as structure and songwriting strategy are just exactly the same. There's a lot. My big gripes are a lack of dynamic contrast, just a lack of unique songwriting. It's like they just found this really great, genius, fun formula and just pounded it and pounded it and pounded it and beat it to death with its own legs. They just beat it to we're gonna keep doing it to you. And to me, that's not what makes a good album. That's what makes a good playlist on Pandora. And that's not what I'm into. That's not what I want to see out of a 45 to 50-minute album that's supposed to be a work of art. So that's my big criticism of it too. Now, a lot of people like it, including this guy. So I'm going to turn it over to Tom.
Well, to kind of segue from what you were saying, the one band that I immediately thought, okay, this kind of sounds like to me, and it's only in spots, and I'll get detailed about it, but Oasis, which is actually kind of funny because I remember, and this just makes me sad, that I remember what a band wrote on Twitter months ago. God, the internet is spoiling my brain. But I remember Portugal the Man tweeting that they thought Oasis was one of the best bands that's come out in the last, 20 years or so.
Well, that makes sense.
Which is fair enough. Yeah, exactly. Because immediately I get that kind of upbeat, that optimistic, fun, but also has that attitude, that kind of vibe that that Oasis had in the mid to late 90s with albums like What's the Story, Morning Glory, and Be Here Now. Even some of the guitar lines and vocal hooks, I mean, just the style is really nailed down. Now this is a little more atmospheric, even bigger sounding, but still that quality is there. And similarly to what you said, while I love Oasis and I really like Portugal the Man, it's kind of true that Oasis is one of those bands that what they do is they know how to write a good song, and then they write that same song over and over again. I mean, all their stuff sounds kind of similar, and yeah, you get a little bit of that on this album. What I really liked, that really attracted me to this album, is not just that all the songs are pretty good. Well, yeah, they are similar. They're pretty good. Is also just, I love the production, and I love the layers of sounds. I love the extra instrumentals they come in. Tracks like track 7, Everything You See, Kids Count Hallelujahs. They have that horn line, and it's just catchy as hell. And it's very infectious, and nearly every track on here has some melody like that, that just sticks with you. And I love that about it. Like I said, love the production. I love how everything's just big sounding. They have the vocal layers with the falsetto, and then also usually someone singing a little lower, mixed perfectly. To me, as a production nerd, that's something that I really get into,
Right.
and they did it really well.
And
here.
also it's complimentary to them just from the fact that they did this in a year since their last album.
Yeah.
And part of the thing, I actually marked production down as a con for me.
Oh, really?
But with the context that I kind of put some of the weight of the blame, I think, on the just what I see as a major problem in the songwriting in when you're looking at tracks, the midsection of the album, specifically from tracks like 2 till 7. With the exception of track 5, which I really liked, I felt like there wasn't enough dynamics in the songwriting, not enough contrast.
I would definitely agree with that.
I feel like you can put part of the blame on the songwriting and the arrangement of the song, maybe even the structuring, but also you can put some of the blame on the production. I mean, you could have mixed it differently to magnify that, but really the way the song was written, I mean, it kind of goes hand in hand.
Yeah, it kind of catered to that.
And now one thing I do want to say is the second half of this album, you do see these songs open up a bit more and see more softs and loudness and that change in volume and that change in intensity, specifically in the last track, Sleep Forever, which I thought really took its time in opening up and provided some great dynamics. I like that. And so that kind of made the album go up a little bit for me. And overall, while I think there's some really big problems for me that's hindering this album, I did like it, and I feel like a lot of you guys are going to like this a lot more than I do. I just want, I like diverse albums, where this I don't think is diverse enough for me to really give it that high mark of awesome. So I think our scores will balance out well.
Yeah.
So I'm going 64 on this.
I'm going
one,
75.
And I think that pretty well accurately reflects what this is. And you got to keep in mind, this is an awesome band. I have a lot of respect for Portugal the Man, because while this might not, and to me this kind of sounds like this is at like 65-70% completion status. The band could have spent more time on it, really developed the songs if they were going for a masterpiece. And I don't think this band is in the business of making masterpieces. They're just in the business of punching out good, high-quality material, which I think they nailed. So thanks, Portugal. I appreciate that. What did you guys think about this album? Let us know at www.velocitiesinmusic.com or youtube.com/velocitiesinmusic. Tell us what you think of The Wall. Do you want to change? Because we're setting up a studio now and your input matters. Twitter, Facebook,
This is temporary.
Yep, this is only temporary for about the next 8 episodes. I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, moving music critique forward.